Hey guys, what's going on? I'm your host, Peter Blake, live here from Raymond James Stadium on the Sports Web, post-game edition as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers surprised the Carolina Panthers, although my co-host, Leo Haggerty, you got to pat yourself on the back because you were pretty close with that score. Absolutely.
Yeah, I said 23-20 and ended up 24-17, and the Bucs did what they needed to do.
Yeah.
They made Superman Clark Kent for the most part. You know, he had his plays, but it wasn't scoring plays. And the defense showed up.
Yeah.
Anytime you hold a team under 20 in the NFL, that's a good game.
That's a good game. And you know what? Coming into the game, what do we talk about? Winning formula football. Jameis Winston, 20 for 30, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And the defense came up huge today by intercepting Cam Newton 4 times, including Andrew Adams?
I have no idea who he is.
Who's Andrew Adams?
Yeah, who's this guy?
Well, 3 interceptions. I don't know where the Bucs have been hiding him, but he played well today along with Javion Elliott. And what was the other key we talked about that we always talk about every week?
Make the quarterback throw it before he wants to and not where he wants to. And the Buccaneers front 4 got there. And a lot of safety blitzes and corner blitzes, Peter.
Yep, absolutely. So we're live here on Bucs Report. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Leo Haggerty, live from Raymond James Stadium. Hopefully you guys can hear us right now. You can. So yes, we had some sound difficulty with a app that we were working with, so we do apologize. Thanks a lot for being patient. We are running on a skeleton crew, and speaking of a skeleton crew, this defense looked at lots of injuries, get Levante David back, lose Justin Evans, guys like Ryan Smith, Javion Elliott, Andrew Adams. I mean, you can't say enough versus a Carolina Panther team that by all accounts was coming into this game needing a win, and they didn't get it today.
And let's get to the one major issue with Carolina. Olsen goes out early in the game with a foot injury and doesn't come back.
Yes.
That is a huge help for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're live here on Bucs Report, live from Raymond James Stadium. I'm your host, Peter Blake, host of the only FM sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area on Saturday afternoons from 3 to 6. So, you know what? Talk about Jameis Winston. The running game, he also led with that with 48 yards. So they didn't necessarily get the running game like you want to. But once again, we did talk about it in the pregame show that if they could show some threat of the run, that they would take advantage of it, and they did today with some long passes.
Yeah, and you know what? One in particular with the pass interference in the end zone led to the winning touchdown.
Look, you don't have to necessarily complete a deep pass for it to be effective. If you can draw a pass interference penalty, that's just as well as good.
And put that thought in the defensive mind, especially the safeties, that, hey, this guy may go deep.
Yeah.
And now you blow the top off the defense. And again, 20 of 30, most of them intermediate passes, which he is exceptional at.
Yes, exactly. And then what was the other key point today at One Buccaneer Place on the pregame show that we talked about was guys had to step up. Adam Humphries, no surprise. Another touchdown in this game. And then you also
Chris Godwin, great catch.
5 catches, over 100 yards, a touchdown. The future's now for Chris Godwin. I'm telling you right now, I would not expect the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as an organization to bring back Deshaun Jackson, and this is why you can't keep a guy like this out of your game plan. You got to get him the ball as much as you can, because tell you right now, he is the future of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, you look at the people that caught touchdown passes today, all people who are going to be here, all guys Winston likes to go to.
Right. And here's the thing. It's not like Carolina is not a good defense, because they are. They're a good defense. They got pressure on Winston today. But in saying that, it seems like Winston has grown up. And you mentioned this in the press box, that maybe it was a great thing for him to sit down and to maybe reflect a little bit on, trying to make too many plays, make too many things happen. He was pressured in these situations today. He had some throws that could have been picked off, but he didn't have the crucial turnover that usually costs this team a victory.
And you know what? His wide receivers did a great job of protecting him. When he threw the bad ball, they became defensive backs and knocked it down.
Right.
Now I'm going to light up the Twitter account right now because I said in the beginning of the year, the worst thing that could happen to the Tampa Bay Bucs is to go 3-0 or 2-1 out of the gate, which they did.
Right.
Because now you had a quarterback issue. Dirk Cutter couldn't go back to Jameis. He's got a guy that's playing at Hall of Fame level. So Jameis has to sit another game. He comes back, and now it's Russian roulette quarterback. You know, who's playing the worst comes out. You can see in the last 2 games, Winston is not playing with one eye on the sideline looking to see if Fitzpatrick's warming up.
Right.
He's the guy.
And
you know what? It's reflected in how he's playing right now.
No, it is absolutely reflective of how he's playing right now. And, again, it's a recipe for success. So, again, you're live here at Raymond James Stadium on the post-game edition. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Leo Haggerty, as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Carolina Panthers 24-17 and moved to 5-7. You have the New Orleans Saints coming in next week.
Who they've beaten.
Yes, they have. So with the way this team has played the last 2 weeks, and with them playing great defense at home, because the stat was out there, only giving up 16 points as a defense, can they legitimately beat the New Orleans Saints?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And again, I'm going to put it out right now. I'm thinking the Bucs win the game next week.
Okay.
You've got the Saints coming off a bad loss on Thursday night. They played 2 Thursdays in a row, which is unheard of in the NFL.
Right.
And the quintessential, SAT word of the afternoon, the quintessential point is number 90 is playing at a Pro Bowl level. Let's be honest.
Yes, and did you see that get off on that key third down? I mean, Cam Newton doesn't know what to do, and Cam Newton's a great athlete, but JPP is showing everybody why the Buccaneers invested a third-round pick, because now he has 11.5 sacks, and you know what? He's only, 5-6 sacks away from 5 sacks away from basically tying Warren Sapp's record, which in 99 he was a Defensive Player of the Year. 6 sacks away from overtaking him. That's a pretty good haul.
Folks, I hope you watched Via today. He was getting double and triple teamed, which allowed JPP, Carl Nassib, and number 93, Gerald McCoy, to go one-on-one. And believe me, there was a whole lot of difference there, because they're almost unstoppable one-on-one. Somebody's going to get through.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I'm shocked. I really am. I did not see this coming at all with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beating the Carolina Panthers. And the last 2 weeks, I picked them to lose. And
he's going to pick them to lose next week. I told him that. He's going to have to.
What else did you see in this game, Leo Haggerty, that we could really focus on? Because in all 3 phases, once again, did a good job. No missed extra points. Yeah, no critical turnovers. Defense played relatively well. No big plays, really. I mean, McCaffrey had over 100 yards, but what did you see?
It wasn't a painful 100 yards.
Right, exactly.
One rush for 50-some yards.
Right.
And after that, it was pedestrian.
Yes.
But we talked to Dirk Cutter Wednesday, and I asked him about the nickel diamond quarter packages, and he said in his sub defenses, where he brings defensive backs in for linebackers, he would have played more against the 49ers, but the 49ers use fullback a lot.
Right.
So what we saw today was a lot of nickel and dime from the Bucs. A couple times they were in quarter, not many. But how about at the end with the Hail Mary defense? I had to look up twice to say, oh, that's Mike Evans back there at 6'5", and Evans gets the spike at the end. I said, I think he played a little volleyball in his college days.
Yeah, and you know what? It's kind of a throwback. I'm not going to compare the defenses, but, Bucs fans out there on Bucs Report, and we're live from Raymond James Stadium. This is old-fashioned Buccaneer football. Win it with your defense at the end. They had the confidence. What do you say about Mark Duffner? He's had an impact on this defense, you would have to say, ever since he's taken over, right, Leo?
And it's healthy.
Okay.
That's the whole thing. Albeit the secondary's banged up, brutalized.
Right.
But the front 4 is finally healthy. Via's healthy. JPP doesn't have the nagging injuries that he's had. They're coming. And they're coming. Golston's coming. I mean, we sat there and watched the loop stunt where Golston came up the middle. And I'll tell you what, he's a big man coming at you.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, Newton had a tough time.
Yeah, Newton had a tough time. There was pressure in his face. I don't think they really gave him a lot of time. He had an opportunity to run. You're going to get that from Cam Newton. But overall, the big splash plays that you saw in the first matchup didn't happen here, and that's why the Bucs win 24-17 to move to 5-7. Tell you what, let's go out to the text line here on Bucs Report. Let's see. Corey says 5-7 Bucs still win out, finish 9-7, make playoffs, win Super Bowl. I think he's.
I'll go all the way to the last statement.
Okay. Love watching Newton. I think that is being sarcastic. Love watching Newton throw interceptions. I think that's what Bucs fans are saying. Travis says, our friend, Cam Newton is number one. Go to target, especially on the sidelines and in the middle of the field at crunch time. You're exactly right. I think he's talking about Greg Olsen, who's been a Buccaneer killer over his career against the Bucs, and you lose him early on. That's a big time.
Oh, it's a huge loss for that. Yeah. Has the animal showed up yet on the?
I don't think he has, but somebody said Leo words. They love when you give them some SAT words. So what's the SAT word for the day for this Buccaneer performance?
Serendipity. Oh. And again, if you know what serendipity is,
it sounds like ice cream.
We started to see the old-time late 90s, early 2000s Buccaneer defense.
Yes.
And again, we cannot emphasize the point more. 3rd and 7, the Bucs run the ball, punt it. Dirk Cutter said, my defense is going to stop them.
Absolutely.
And they did.
And he has confidence in that defense, and that's nice.
I don't think he'd have done that earlier in the season.
No, I don't think so either. And again, a lot of people say, well, you change defensive coordinators in the season, it's not a good move. 23 sacks ever since that defensive coordinator was changed is an eye-opening experience, whether that is scheme or whether that is players getting healthy, which I think it could be a combination of both. And again, you can see I can see McCoy today make some plays. So
it's all a confidence thing.
Yeah.
If you're playing with confidence, it's a whole different animal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we're live here on Bucs Report on the post-game show edition of the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Leo Haggerty, former coach, scout, and now media member. And he's got to pat himself on the back because he was definitely right about that prediction. And he was right about this defense showing up today. They did. And again, the story is Andrew Adams, 3 interceptions, Javion Elliott.
Could have had a 4th.
Right. Could have had a 4th if it's not tipped up. On top of that, Javion Elliott. We talked about guys stepping up, and I couldn't because I didn't know who they were. Well, we knew who they were today. Ryan Smith, Javion Elliott, Andrew Adams. Hats off to those players who, again,
stepped up and made plays.
Right.
Bottom line.
Make plays, and it's next man up.
And you know what? Monty Kiffin always had a great line. You're a starter for that play. Understand that. You're on the field. You're a starter.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody talks about starting. It's not about who starts, it's who finishes.
Right.
And I'm going to go back to an old Pat Riley comment from the 3-peat Lakers. I'll play 10. I'm okay with 8, but I only trust 5. Look at the Bucs. Hey, they'll play a bunch of people on defense, but at the end, they trust 11 guys, and those 11 guys run.
Yeah, 11 guys today, all running to the ball. And again, can this defense play better? Absolutely. But when you create 4 turnovers, you're doing something right. And look, this is not a rookie quarterback. This is Cam Newton, okay? This is Superman, and they made him look like Clark Kent today.
And I'll tell you what, guys, another thing, a lot of discernment in the press box on that fumble by the Bucs.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that play because it clearly looks like Peyton Barber's in the end zone. He goes over Donovan Smith. It looks like he's got his arm over, and then the ball falls out. I think he's over. I think it's a touchdown. I think the refs missed a couple of calls in this game. By the way, refs, what call was that on Mike Evans? It's interference on him. It looked like it was interference on the defensive back. It didn't look like it was Evans. So very questionable calls today by the refs.
And you know what? I got to agree with the call of the fumble.
Right.
Because I think it should be the same as in the field. This breaking the plane's got to stop.
Right.
You got to be able to get in the end zone and hand the ball to the official. So, again, I'm upset because the way they're calling it, it should have been a touchdown.
Right.
But I think they need to change it. I think this breaking the plane, just stepping it over, you need to control the ball through the play, just like a pass.
Yeah.
If that was a pass, if he'd have done that, it's incomplete.
Yeah.
So, I just think that needs to change.
Yeah, somebody says right now, Corey points out that the Bucs actually have a better record than the Green Bay Packers. That's absolutely correct. Mason Crosby misses a 49-yard field goal after Aaron Rodgers leads them down to another fourth-quarter comeback. I mean, it's tough to say that coach is going to last.
Let's say he missed it, but he didn't shank it. It wasn't a Vander Shank.
Right.
It was a Scott Norwood miss. It was wide right by about a foot.
Yeah.
but not a good thing for the Packers.
Somebody said Vita Vea gave us a peek at why we drafted him today. Do you agree?
He gave us more than a peek.
Yeah?
Yeah. And again, he takes up two people, and I think that's what the Buccaneers brought him in for.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So what you're watching right now is the live edition from Raymond James Stadium. No blowers today. I don't know what's in the background there, but that's okay. We're live here from Raymond James Stadium.
It's that steamroll that went over the Carolina Panthers.
That's it. Absolutely. And you really didn't see anybody get off for the Carolina Panthers on offense. But we did
McCaffrey, yeah.
Right, McCaffrey. But besides that, on defense, we saw Addison a couple plays. We saw Julius Peppers. Talk about Julius Peppers once again. He's a nightmare for this Buccaneer team, isn't he?
And a perfect example is they run a loop stunt, and Peppers goes in and just takes two guys with him, and a cagey veteran. He's got one arm around the outside guy so he can't slide off. Again, and he's a big human being. He's large. I think the question somebody's probably going to ask is if Olsen plays the game, is the outcome different? Possibly.
Because you have Olsen, who in the past has hurt this team.
Down the middle.
Plus, exactly. And you have a propensity, another SAT word, which I use in the pregame show, but that's okay, of Cam Newton throwing to him. And you should, because you have all these linebacking injuries, and Greg Olsen is a mismatch nightmare. Anytime a tight end can get out in space and you have a one-on-one matchup with a linebacker, I'll take that all day long, won't you?
Absolutely, because we saw what the Carolina Panthers strategy was after Olsen went down. Get McCaffrey on a linebacker.
Okay, let me ask you this, because I was thinking of this, and then we'll get to Jameis Winston, because he did something today that no other quarterback in Tampa Bay Buccaneer history has done. Does this seem reminiscent of 2016 just a little bit? Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Maybe not as good of a defense, and maybe not on a roll. But now you've beaten the Carolina Panthers. You beat San Francisco.
You beat New Orleans.
You beat New Orleans earlier. But I mean, that 5-game run. And somebody asked, can they go on that run where they go 9-7? And if they go 9-7,
they're in the playoffs.
And Dirk Cutter's job is safe.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what, it all is going to stem to next week.
Yeah.
Because they've got that one, then they got 2 on the road, and they come back home on the 30th.
Sure.
Coming home, if they
play different at home.
If they're 8-7, coming home, look out.
Yeah.
Because this team they're playing at a whole new level. And again, I think it goes back to the quarterback.
I do too.
He's comfortable.
Yep.
He knows that, hey, if I make a mistake, I'm not coming out.
And it seems like the team as a whole believes in Jameis Winston. Now, with that being said, Jameis Winston, 81 touchdowns for his career. He is the franchise leader in touchdowns thrown. I asked you this. Is there a possibility now, with him being your franchise leader and throwing touchdowns and the way he's playing, that this organization would go a different way? Because I don't see it now. There's something about him when he's playing within the confines of the offense, and when he's not turning over the ball, and when he's able to scale the pocket and make plays. There's something special about him, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. And let's put the question out there right away.
Okay.
Let's say the Buccaneers go 7-9 and there's a complete cleaning of house. If I'm interviewing for the head coaching job, my first question to the Glazers is this my quarterback, or are we getting rid of him?
Right.
That's the first question, and I need an answer.
And I think the last 2 games, if you wanted an answer out of this, the last 3 games, because he played well versus the Giants, the interception at the end of the game was a play that he's trying to make. He played very well. I mean, he had some opportunities there to turn over the ball, but he didn't do it. The last 3 games, he's played very well. And again, performance statistics tell the story. If you're winning with Jameis Winston, I don't see how there is any argument at this point that he doesn't come back. And by the way, he's your franchise leader and touchdowns thrown all time.
Yeah, and let's be honest. There's some things now he still needs work on.
Yes.
Again, when to throw the ball away and not take a sack.
Yeah.
Again, we saw today he rolled out with it. And I don't think he sees the guy behind him, but he's got to feel that. He's got to know somebody's coming.
Sure. And
just throw it away, not take the 8, 9, 10-yard sack.
Sure, absolutely. Corey Brown says 2016 Bucs, should record be 11-5 or 10-6? Well, they didn't. It was 9-7. So we'll see what they
could have, shoulda, woulda.
Could have, shoulda, woulda.
As Warren Sapp said, if every Candy and nuts every day. It'd be Christmas, right?
Don't get
Remember
us
that?
in trouble.
Remember
Yeah,
that? Remember that?
yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right, so we're live here on Bucs Report, your post-game edition of the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Leo Haggerty of Night Sports Productions. Take a couple more questions, and then we're going to get off here. And
We got to head over to that Outback Bowl Central and find out who is in the Outback Bowl here.
And I tell you what,
Here's
if
the-
you like college football, I think we're going to probably go live with that broadcast over there. We can get over there early enough. It's been a busy day on Bucs Report. It's been a busy day for yours truly and Leo Haggerty. But you know what? We continue to roll on like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did today over the Carolina Panthers, 24-17. The animal is here right now. So
Animal. Jojo.
All right. I think they should keep Jameis. I agree with you, Joe. I think they should. And after, again, him coming in here and playing the way he has, no turnovers, only one turnover out of the 3 games, that's encouraging. Another test here with the New Orleans Saints. Cam Jordan, you have Rankins in the middle. You have Lattimore, you have E.J. Apple. But, again, there's big-time opportunities to score some points. You've seen it this year with this Tampa Bay Buccaneer offense being able to put up
And
some
I'd like to see 2
points.
players back on the field
Right.
for the Pewter Pirates.
Okay. Who that would be?
DeMar Dotson
Okay.
and Grimes.
Okay,
That would help.
I'd absolutely like to see Grimes back. I'd definitely like to see DeMar Dotson, but you really didn't talk about Leonard Wester today. Not a lot of breakdowns.
No, not at all.
Impressive.
But again, I like to see Dot back there just for having another body. And dear God, anybody in the secondary. I mean, they're going to suit me up there shortly.
All right, so real quick, I think, you know what, we're going to save that college talk. So I tell you what, let's get out of here, guys. Thanks a lot for supporting us here on the Sports Web live post-game show from Raymond James Stadium. A happy Raymond James Stadium. It's going to be a happy week as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers move to 5-7, beating the Carolina Panthers 24-17. I'm your host, Peter Blake. He is
Leo Haggerty.
and we are giving you something to think about. Guys, have a great week. Breakfast is going to be better. Everything is going to be better because the Bucs win.
See you next Sunday.